Welcome to the Business Growth Podcast. Today I'm here with Brandon, the founder and CEO of Aura Accounting Solutions. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, Leonard.
So tell us a little bit more. What do you guys do?
Yeah, so we provide fractional controller and CFO services specifically to marketing agencies, seven figures and above.
Okay, nice. And then what made you pick that very specific niche to focus on?
So I was industry agnostic for a long time and found that in order to continue scaling my business, the biggest bottleneck I had was not having a niche. We were serving so many different industries that it became difficult for us to create processes internal that were standardized. And so I looked at the book of clientele I was working with and tried to determine who would be the best fit for us. And I ultimately decided on marketing agencies. Agency owners themselves, they're highly emotionally intelligent and very creative, typically not great with numbers, which bodes well for an accountant.
Mm-hmm.
And project-based accounting in general is fairly complex. Typically, a bookkeeper alone can't prepare good quality accrual financials that are needed to really kind of understand margin changes month to month. And
Mm-hmm.
at the same time, I was also mentoring with somebody who had a ton of agency experience and ultimately brought him in as our executive vice president. So all
Mm-hmm.
those things together just brought the stars aligned to make agencies the right fit for us.
Mm-hmm. Right. Okay. And what does like client acquisition look like for you guys? Are you just mainly referrals for other of these, or because it's a quite a specific niche that you have?
Yeah, so the business originally was built off of referrals. And as you can imagine, those referral sources dried up pretty quickly when we went all in on this niche, which, to be quite honest, was pretty scary at first, but knew that ultimately this was the right path forward. We have since moved to more of a cold outreach strategy. We primarily use paid ads now as our primary lead gen source. But we are also doing outreach through LinkedIn and some email as well.
Okay, nice. And can you tell us a little bit more about your cold outreach strategy? Because a lot of businesses I talk with, they just rely on referrals. It's like 70 to 90% is referrals. Tell me a little bit more. How does that look like for you guys?
Yeah, I mean, I'm really kind of going all in on paid ads. I think that for my specific niche, that's they're living in the world of Instagram, Meta specifically, but they are also on LinkedIn. And so we're doing a combination of LinkedIn and Meta ads with some cross targeting. And the idea is to try to get pretty qualified in the sense of we're not we're not trying to spray and pray too much. We're trying to kind of hone that in a little bit more to because the reality is for my TAM, my total addressable market is approximately 15,000 companies in the United States, which is
Yeah.
not many. And so, for me, I can get a little bit more targeted on trying to go after specific agencies. And
Mhm.
through that process, we're able to highly target a little bit more to that specific demographic.
Okay. And then so for let's say like the meta ads that you mentioned, what does the ad look like? Is it just like a direct, hey, are you a marketing, seven-figure marketing agency? Do you need an accountant type of thing? Or how does a creative look like for those ads?
I'm not going to pretend I'm an expert in that regard. We are still continuing to refine and optimize that process. What I will say is that, yes, it's really, for me, it's about addressing the pain points, concerns, and what that demographic is looking for. And ultimately, uh, my ICP is seven-figure agencies. So about the point that they cross over to 1 million in revenue and beyond, now they have
Yeah.
to start considering building a leadership team. Now they have to start focusing on delegating. The founder has to start to delegate some of those tasks away. A lot of
hmm
times, the founder will take very little in compensation. They take more in profits or distribution. But the reality is as they have to replace themselves within the agency, they have to replace themselves at a much higher rate. So while they may have been paying themselves $50,000 a year, for example, their replacement cost may be $200,000 to $250,000 a year. And now
Hmm.
all of a sudden they thought they were very profitable before. They were actually artificially profitable. And so our job is to help guide and advise them on, as you are growing, let's make sure you're hitting the right target margin in order to scale successfully.
Yeah, gotcha. And then how do you find the results have been since moving to this more cold marketing approach?
Definitely a numbers game, and it is something that takes time. You
Hmm.
need a lot of patience, and you need to be willing to analyze the data because there's a lot of good information found in there. It's also very easy to just waste a lot of money as well. And so a lot of A/B testing is required, and a lot of thought needs to go into um, why you're choosing specific targets, why you're choosing certain ad sets, and there's so many variables in it. I do highly recommend somebody seek outside professional help, not try to figure these things out themselves for a few
Hmm.
reasons. Number one, you will end up spent kind of quote unquote wasting money versus working with somebody who understands the nuances, understands which KPIs to look at, which data to refer to, and there's just so many variables in this process. And like I said, we're still continuing to figure this out. I don't have the cheat code unlocked, right? But we've learned a lot in the last 12 months.
Oh yeah, yeah, it's definitely very, very fascinating. Like I've run a lot of ads myself as well, and the amount of like variations that you need to test with some of these creatives as well. Like I'd be launching ads and there'd be 10, 15 different creatives. And even like small little things like just changing the hook can have a massive difference. Just changing the background, just changing what you wear. It's really fascinating because you have like a split second, someone scrolling, you got a split second, you got to capture, you got to stop the scroll, and then you got to get them to do what you need them to do. So it's really fascinating.
It is. And, with social media and where things are going, people's attention span is reducing further and further. I hear I hear now that, sometimes people need 25 plus touch points before they'll even consider working with you.
Yeah.
And so there's so much nuance in it. But what I will say is that, particularly as an accountant, right, we're high ticket in the sense of what we offer is sticky and typically good margins. So we're the right fit for an ad strategy. Whereas, if
Hmm.
we're selling $10 widgets, it becomes very difficult to get the necessary ROI. But as you start to go down this process of doing more kind of outbound sales or cold outreach, what you'll find is that the economics there make sense. You need to figure out what you're comfortable with. But once you find that process and can dial it in, you can then start to create some predictability versus, being in the
Hmm.
game of referrals and just kind of sitting around waiting for those opportunities to come along.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. Yes, and once, yeah, especially once you get that winning creative, and then it's just a matter of just change ad spend from whatever to whatever, and then yeah, like you said, it's just a lot more predictable and controllable as well.
Absolutely. And the hard part of being an entrepreneur is you like to chase shiny objects and sometimes divert your attention. But when you find something that's working, keep doing it and just make small refinements. And don't just change course because you want to try something new, right? Find what works, dial it in, and then keep trying little incremental changes to just get that much better results from it.
Hmm. Yeah, and then always because usually it's a entrepreneurship, it's a long term game as well, and then it's always like that doubt: am I on the right path when you're not seeing immediate results and stuff? I think that's a challenge in itself as well.
Yeah, and these sales cycles can go 6 months beyond. I've have
Mm,
situations where I've reached out to somebody 8 months ago, and now they're coming back around. That's the other thing is continuous follow up, right?
yeah.
You continuously need to follow up with these opportunities. Don't leave them by the sidelines. It's very rare that you reach out one time to somebody and they're ready to act at that right moment and things work. That consistency and the cadence of continuous follow up, you will see results. But it is a volume game, right? You need to
Mm,
do these things in volume and you need to be consistent. If you're
mm,
willing to put in that effort and time, you will see positive results from it.
mm. And then I know you mentioned also you guys do some LinkedIn outreach. what does that look like? And how do you find the right people to do the LinkedIn outreach? Because I think the marketing agencies is a little bit more hard to identify exactly through LinkedIn.
It's also it's a numbers game as well. So we use Sales Navigator to
Yeah,
find those prospects, and then we have a sequence of a kind of a messaging sequence that goes out once those connections are created. Numbers game, right? For every 100 people I reach out to, maybe I hear one to two, but back from one to two of them. But
yeah,
we've gotten some pretty good business from just LinkedIn cold outreach. It works, right?
yeah.
It's a lot of times it's just being in the right place at the right time. And if you do a combination of many different things, eventually, as I kind of mentioned, right, you're doing this many things at volume, you will see
Mhm.
results from it. But you have to be doing these things consistently.
Yeah, volume, everything's volume game and little A/B testing I like as well. And then, so for the LinkedIn outreach that you do, is it more a like a direct approach that you're doing in terms of just saying, hey, we offer accounting, CFO services. Is that something you need, or what's like the approach with the outreach?
So we're doing a few different things. So we do have the kind of cold LinkedIn outreach. We also have a cross targeting of Meta ads and LinkedIn ads. So if an individual clicks on our landing page, the pixel will then cross target them on LinkedIn when they're on LinkedIn, or vice versa on Meta. This is kind of a newer strategy we've implemented. We've been seeing some pretty solid results from.
Yeah.
Um, but like I said, there's not a one size fits all, and just keep trying. And a lot of times what you think is great messaging doesn't resonate with your ICP. And so really understand their pain points. What's keeping them up at night? What are their concerns? And really focus your energy on solving their problems and their issues. And not so much about necessarily selling yourself, but selling the solution. And
Mhm.
through that, we've had some pretty decent success.
Yeah, that is so true. Just focusing on what their pain points are and then crafting the offer that resonates with what is keeping them up at night. It's yeah, very, very true. And then mhm,
Yeah, well, I was going to say, and we it's been a long time, particularly in the U.S., that we haven't had this much economic uncertainty. And this is something that, since it's really since I would say 2008, or, maybe a little bit during COVID, but, we're kind of an interesting economic time. And that provides a lot of opportunity for accountants in particular, right? Because now's the time that people should be more proactive versus reactive. And as we know, most accountants are very reactive in nature. So as an accountant going after, new prospects, give them that proactivity and show them a different way. And I think there's a lot of opportunity to help, because in a recessionary environment, or the looks of what could be a recessionary environment, I think it makes us that much more lucrative for prospective clients.
but yeah, the biggest opportunities is in the uncertainty times and when everyone's panicking. That's usually when the
Exactly.
biggest opportunities, yeah.
Yeah, no, nobody's looking at their when things are great and times are rosy. Nobody cares to look at their financials or to figure out where they need to cut costs, right? But with uncertainty on the horizon, these are things people are considering. Am I making enough money right now? Am I generating enough margin on the services I'm offering? Am I doing things correctly? This is a ripe opportunity if you can play it right.
hmm Yeah, and then so I'm also really curious. So you kind of moved from the more referral based to the more cold marketing approach. Did you have to change much in terms of your sales process with that?
It definitely did, right? Because when it's a referral from somebody directly, it's a much warmer situation. When people just see an ad, or get some random in touch with you, it's a little different. You have to build a little bit more credibility. But that said, the process is pretty much the same, right? It's ultimately, at the end of the day, it's what are the pain points and addressing those pain points. And while their opportunities are more cold, and while you may need to just build a little more cred, um, get those testimonials from existing clients. Those are key, right? Show that you have the credibility in your marketplace and that you've worked with clients like you're pursuing.
Mhm.
And through that, you will find that, that's the way I think ultimately to build that credibility is show other like businesses that you've been able to help and what you've been able to do for them.
Mhm. Yeah, it is really funny the difference, and that's why I asked between like a referral and someone that comes from an ad. It's like a night and day difference.
It's very different, very different. But I wouldn't trade it for the world because when I was strictly referral, it first of all, I had to rely on the referrals, which may or may not have been ideal business clients to work with, right?
Yeah,
They could have been pain in the butts. They could have been cheap. They could have not been aligned on core values that we were, but we needed the
yeah.
business, so we took it. And
Mm.
now we can be much more selective on who we want to work with. And ultimately, that just creates a better business because you have stronger margins, you have better relationships with those clients, your staff are much happier because they're not working with people they don't want to be, and you build a better business from it.
They're so true. It's all really fascinating. And then what made you decide to start testing the ads originally? Because like I've spoken to a few accounting businesses, and whenever I mention, "Hey, have you considered ads?" They're just like, "Oh no, ads don't work for accountants or something." It's like, yeah, well,
I think as it's funny. Um, you once again, right? Us accountants, we're not great marketers. We have to realize and understand that. And what may not, if we try something once and it doesn't work and we give up and say that's it, the reality is there's so many businesses out there that are wildly successful because of the marketing. This was something I had to learn with time, right? When I was younger in my business, I didn't see the value of marketing and advertising. I thought it was just a cost. Now I see the investment in it and the idea of building a brand and building awareness and really positioning yourself as the expert in the marketplace. Um, I highly encourage anyone at any size of business to really consider advertising and marketing, and particularly, paid ads. I think is underserved for the accounting industry.
mm, yeah,
I get them on occasion. They're usually not great. What do people want? They want good creative. They want to be entertained, right? They don't want to be lectured to. And so when you're considering how to enhance that creative, think about how can I do this in an entertaining way that's going to bring value to the prospect and not in a way of I am so and so CPA and here's the services I can provide, right? Nobody's looking for that. You need to make them laugh a little bit. You need to make them say, "Oh, that was cute." And then they're going to say, "Oh, actually I do need to look into my accounting. That's something I haven't considered in a while." So,
mm. Yeah, that is very true. I know we're starting to run out of time here, so how about let's finish on what's been one of the most valuable lessons that you've learned in business?
wow, what a question. I think the most valuable thing is when you find something that's working, just keep working at it, keep refining it. Don't try to recreate the wheel 1,000 times, right? Small little iterations. It's that kind of 1% a day type of thought process, right? And don't overcomplicate things. Um,
Hmm.
and I heard this good bit of wisdom, which is that anytime you're going to try something new, it's going to have an immediate impact on the existing business. So whatever you want to try that's new, you better make sure it's going to have about a 20+% impact on benefit because you're basically going to lose about 20% by shifting to try something new. It's
Mm,
difficult to implement, especially with accountants, right? Our staff, they're kind of structured. They like things done a certain way. And when you have to shift that and change that, people don't like change, especially accountants. So consider how these affect both the staff, you individually, and what's for the greater good and purpose of the company. So I would say find what works, double down on it, make small little changes, small little enhancements, and keep your eye on the prize.
yeah, that's so true. And I'll also add on top of that, whatever's working now is probably not going to work in a couple of years from now. So really just doubling down on what is working.
Refinement, continuous refinement. When you find what's working, how do you enhance that and make that better? Because once you find that secret sauce that gives you that competitive advantage, it's not going to last forever. So you
Mm-hmm.
need to continuously consider, okay, now that I've found what's working, how do I make it that much better? How do I stay ahead of the competition? How do I make somebody look at working with me versus somebody else and say, wow, that guy gets it, and I get so much more value working with him, right? It's all about that value proposition. Whatever it is, whatever you're charging, you want the client to feel like they're getting a lot of value for that. So the other thing I would say is just continue to enhance the value proposition for your clients. And if you do that, you're going to have very sticky, happy clients that stay with you a long time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I appreciate you coming on. I could talk about sales funnels and marketing the whole day. Where can people go to find a little bit more about what you do and about you guys?
Yeah, you can find us at Aura CFO on Instagram. Feel free to also check us out on LinkedIn, or you can go check out our website, www.auracfo.com. Love to talk to anyone, whether they're an accountant, marketing agency. If you want to talk professional services, I love to chat. So feel free to connect with me and let's talk.
Awesome. Sounds good. I'll put the link to those in the show notes below. Appreciate you coming on the show, sharing your expertise. You guys have been listening to the Business Growth Podcast. Until next time, keep growing.